Hello, we are Group 1 and our topic is global risks and the consequent effects. And this is our member. And I'm the presenter Penny. And this is part 1's outline. And we focus on the outline as global risk, the evolution of the risk, the spread from non-state actors, and asset bubbles. Advances in financial systems. Risks to critical infrastructure. The road to Paris. Internet governments. And this is part 2's outline, risks in focus. Interplay between geopolitics and economics. And finally, city limits. Future plans. And now I'm going to elaborate the evolution of the risks in page 14. And we can see the table 1.1.1. And since in the 2007 to 2010, global are dominated by the economic risks and because of the financial crisis. And in 2011, environmental risks have catch public attention because in this year many disasters happened, such as the serious flood in Thailand and the nuclear disaster in Japan, Fukushima. And 2012, economic risk back because European debt crisis. And now 2015. For the first time in the report's history, economic risk only marginally in the top 5. And in the 25 years after the fall of the Berlin Wall, geopolitical risks are back on the agenda. And now we take a look on the page 16. Growing worries about conflict. 上一页 Sorry. Growing worry about conflict. After World War II, the world advocates world peace and idealized globalization. And however, it didn't work out and caused two consequences. First is self-interested foreign policies and the rise in national sentiment. And this weakened the international governments and further caused that international organizations can be hard to act decisively on issues like conflict resolution and even slow down the growth of global. And now we can see it in the third and fourth paragraph. Under the dissolution of globalization, the relative low employment and slow growth of the economy result in an even stronger nationalism. So it leads to more conflicts happens. And when the state structure is challenged by conflicts, the government may fail to governments. The state may fail to governments and cause such state collapse or crisis. For example, Iraq and Syria were occupied by ISIS. And the next page, the threat from non-state actor. And the group known as ISIS was caught public attention. What really makes ISIS out is that it has claimed statehood. Its established systematical ruling boasts over 30,000 fighters, found itself and hold territory in both Iraq and Syria. And therefore, it became the richest non-state armed force in the world and equipping it to be a non-state state. And this phenomenon is not without persistence. We can see in the text that it mentioned that the Taliban have effective control over the Afghanistan and rule it. until U.S. led offensive overthrow. And all in all, today, perhaps this is a trend of re-entry into an area of the non-state states.
And I'm the next presenter, Ellie, and the topic is economic risks. In the beginning of the contest, it shows that the global economy is returning to growth, although it grows very slow. But people have a feeling that significant progress has been made in reducing the likelihood of another financial crisis. However, the history shows that people do not always learn from the past failure. Instead, they often face the same risk. And so the most significant risk on page 18 is the asset bubble. So asset bubble means asset's virtual value exceeds its actual value. So I'm going to give you an example. If there is a house sold for $1 million and person A pay $1 million for buying it, and after that, A's friend B pay 1.2 million to buy the house, and then B's friend C pay 1.5 billion and buy it. So for other people, they may be curious about why the house worth so much money, and they think as long as buying the house, after a period of time, the house will go up in value, and so other people will pay higher price for buying the house. So gradually there are more and more people come to buy the house. So the price of the house will keep rising from 1.5 million to 2 million and eventually hundreds of millions of dollars. But however, the house itself actually doesn't worth so much money. So it is consumers' psychological speculations that makes the virtual value of the house bigger than its actual value. So when the house becomes billions of dollars in the end, people who originally considered buying the house will start losing the confidence, because they know that the house doesn't worth so much actually. So in the end, no one would like to buy the house, and there will be a huge decline in the price of the house, and the bubble's thirst collapse. So in reality, a lot of people take profiteering attitude to invest in stock market or real estate. But once the bubble economy begins to collapse, it will affect most business and industries and even international economic trend. Because the house price and stock price has been speculated heavily, far more than what families can earn during their lifetime. So it results in tragedy for many families, since a lot of fortunes are transferred to very few winners, while a majority of losers who bought houses at high price will become debtors. So no matter in developed countries or developing countries, the evidence of fraudulence is increasing in a number of housing, credit, and equity markets across the world. The traditional goal of the central banks is to stabilize the economy, keeping inflation lower and achieving robust growth. So each time there is reflation or recession, the central banks will try to use expansionary monetary policies for stimulating the economy. But the history shows that this is not an effective way, and it will increase the risk of asset bubbles, because central banks made the interest rates lower in order to let business or people invest something that have production output. However, business or people invest real estate or stocks, so asset bubble will appear.
My name is Jenny Zhang, and I'm here to start with your report, page 20, risks to critical infrastructure. On page 20, the first line, it mentioned the word has more to lose than ever before from massive failure of critical infrastructure. How to prove it? Large-scale power outage might be the most visible illustration. For example, the July 2012 India blackout was the largest in history, affecting 670 million people, about 10% of the world population. On the other hand, in many countries, infrastructure has not been maintained well, and one reason to this is because procrastination, and the other reason is because people have the conception that the risk is so small that it is not worth considering or crowding out other priorities. So upgrading infrastructure is essential in recognition that resilient infrastructure has become the backbone of a competitive economy. And next, I'm going to talk about the environmental risks. Three top crises include water crisis, failure of climate change adaptation, and biodiversity loss. Global water requirements are projected to be pushed beyond sustainable water supplies by 40% by 2030. In other words, in 2030, people's need for water will be higher 40% than sustainable water supplies. So I'm going to talk about water crisis first. On page 20, on your report, at the end part of the left column, it mentioned the population growth and dietary habits change. So food production will need to increase by 50% by 2030. The population grows, so the food production will certainly increase. But why does dietary habits change? Have something to do with the increase of the need of food production. Most of foods nowadays we eat are rich in animal protein, and 1/3 of land in the world are used to grow feed to feed animals, so the land for agriculture will be reduced. Thus, it results in the shortage of food production. Therefore, the need of food production should be increased 50% to maintain people's basic demand. As the food production rises, the water consumption will be also increased. On the other hand, animal high-protein foods need 10 times water demand than vegetarian, so it is also a reason to water shortage. Moreover, the high demand for energy is also a cause to water crisis. With the advance of technology, the demand for energy has become higher than ever. According to National Energy Agency statistics, compared to the total energy usage we need today, the demand for energy usage will increase 85% by 2035. From the following chart in your handout, there are 90% electricity production being operated by water. In the future, for the purpose of meeting our demand, the water consumption will also increase simultaneously. The more energy we desire, the more water we consume. Next, I'm going to talk about failure of climate change adaptation. Global warming is the main crisis we are facing. It refers to an increase in average global temperature. This is caused mainly by greenhouse gases, and human activities are believed to be contributing to the increase of greenhouse gases. On page 21, the central column mentions warming is unequivocally happening, and it is extremely likely that human influence has been the dominant cause. Since the start of Industrial Revolution in 1700s, human beings emitting fossil fuels from coal, oil, and gas in order to run cars and factories. This not only caused the rising temperature of the Earth nowadays, but also lead to other serious problems like climate change around the world. In your on the report, page 21. On the report, page 21, it mentioned the impact of climate change on weather pattern and rainfall, causing either droughts and floods. And both of them will cut down 25% output of crops. Strong evidence of the effects of climate change is already apparently. In terms Last but not least, biodiversity loss is a serious problem. It means various types of life living on Earth and the variations within species. It is not distributed evenly on Earth. Terrestrial biodiversity tends to be highest along coast in the Western Pacific. Biodiversity is important to people and the health of ecosystems because it boosts ecosystems productivities and provide a number of nature services for everyone. In terms of ecosystem service, it provides water resource, soils, and it helps cover from unpredictable events. In terms of biological resources, it provides food, medical resources, wood products, population reservoir, and so on. In terms of social benefits, it provides us with research, education, tourism, and cultural values. The loss of biodiversity may not directly affect humans, but indirectly effects of losing many species and diversity of ecosystems are serious.
Hi, I'm Annie, and I'm going to talk about the road to Paris. And in the series of global summits embedded in the post 2015, and it is below the 4 issues: climate change, disaster risk reduction, financing for development, and sustainable development goals. And they believe that through catalyzing private finance and scaling low carbon, climate resilient investment can let the next generation to have a sustainable growth, and the poverty will reduce. And especially in developing countries, but not particularly limited to developing countries. However, governments should value the prospect of a longer term instead of a shorter term global prosperity, or else they will lose the opportunity to to improve this situation, and the population will be consigned to the negative spiral of poverty and environmental degradation. And in September 2014, United Nations Security Generations Climate Summit, over 1,000 business and investors signaled their support for global carbon pricing. So did some 73 countries, covering 52% of global GDP and 54% of global emissions. And for those major consumer companies, they have taken action on the supply chain because they believe that is the main thing that they can do. And there is two remarkable ones. One is through the New York Declaration on Forests and the move towards climate-friendly coolants. The oil and gas climate initiative signaled refreshed engagement from major energy producers. And in November the same year, a positive signal is the agreement between China and the United States, a strong set of clear policy signals to the wider business community is needed. And many countries are still expecting that at the post-2015 on the Paris Global Summit, they can make a deal to improve the environmental climate risks. And yes. Okay, and next I'm going to talk about the technical risks. And the two main issues is the large-scale cyber attacks and the rise of hyperconnectivities. And the main point that is that a growing number of physical objects connected to the internet and more sensitive personal data, including about health and finances, being stored by companies in the cloud. So that means that a lot of your own personal detail will be on the internet for others. It's kind of being public and be easy to get, so you won't have much guarantee on your own privacies. And this will cause a problem, and it is hard to deal with because there is not such a policy to know those doing cyber attacks or those who use these data to do bad things. We cannot have a policy for them because it's hard to arrest them, even finding out. And IoT, Internet of Things, which is quite popular now. It has analytics on large and separate the data source, can drive breakthrough insight, but in the same time, it raises a lot of questions. Just like I mentioned, expectation of privacy and the fair appropriate use of data about individuals. This is what people most concerned. And also, because of the LOT, it changes the business model and the ecosystem across a range of industry, disrupting disruption in labor markets because people will lose their job because internet can do a lot of things, and violatively in financial markets because the business model has changed, so it will affect the financial market. And governing governing the internet, they have a meeting about it. It's like the two issues, the technical matters, and to address cybercrime, net neutrality, and privacy and freedom of expression. And the first one, technical matters, is more simple than the second one because it needs to make sure all of the infrastructure and devices that constitute the internet can talk to each other, which is now quite mature. But the other one, the most big matter is that how do you address the cybercrime? And there's a lot of technical infrastructure of the internet is dispersed among several organizations like IETF, a lot of W3C, which they have solution that they propose is like policy modules, standards, specifications, or best practice, and it is spread through voluntary adoption, direction and contract or other agreement. But this is believed that it's not really the main solution to let the cyber crime to reduce, because it is really optional and you can't force anyone to sign the agreements. So it's hard to really cure or improve the problem now. So it mentioned that no such system exists for developing and implementing solution to the harsh issue now. So they discussed they should start with the easy short-term solution, is localization of the infrastructure. And also they want to take the risk is that data nationalism, which means border control on data, and it means that it crosses borders to control those data. It's quite difficult because it could endanger the network effects that underlie the internet's ability to drive innovation and create social and economic value. So if you do more policy on this, it might not let the internet, these kind of new business model to work more better. So the World Economic Forum is embarking on a multi-year strategy initiative to bring together leaders from public and private, which is more efficient than those government discussing about it. And there is some risk. You can see on the page 22, there is a picture. The global, and it says about the preparedness or at the region level is different because every country they face different kinds of risks. And in Europe, you can see on the picture, the biggest two problems are the two main problems are the high structural unemployment or underemployment, because they follow by a large scale of involuntary migration and profound social instabilities. So you have to cope with this problem. And in North America, the failure and shortfall of critical infrastructure, large-scale cyber attack, which is the main problem that they don't have a efficient policy or way to improve it, to reduce it, and failure of climate change adaptation. And in sub-Saharan Africa, the infectious disease and unemployment is the main problems, because the disease will they are still developing. So the disease, the medical development isn't that perfect. And in East Asia and the Pacific is the interstate conflict and failure of urban planning and man-made environmental catastrophes. And Latin America, the Caribbean, and the South Asia, profound social instability and failure of urban. And you can see most of the problems they share quite similar, but these all can result into a social fragility. Yes, because weak economic growth, food price volatility, and food insecurity, unemployment, large-scale migration, and the growth of heterogeneity and interdependence of social, all causes the problems to enhance and increase. So it is better to have a short-term plan to let these problems to make an improvement.
Hello, I'm Mina.
And I'm Luming.
And we are going to talk about part 2. And according to figure 2 in page 3, we can see geopolitical risk like failure of national governance, interstate conflict, and state collapse or crisis. Societal risk, profound social instability, and economic risk, unemployment or underemployment are all standing in the middle of the picture. The relationship between them shows that they are the most primary problems in global risk 2015, and also shows that they are closely connected and influencing one another. And according to this book, part 2 will focus on the risk that the interplay between geopolitical and economics, and urbanization in developing countries and emerging technology bring. We are going to talk about interplay at first and leave other parts to other members.
Okay, so due to the global financial crisis in 2008, the whole world went into global recession during 2008 to 2012, and this led to the whole world. This led to the economy, the rise of unemployment and the other difficult financial problem. Also, the international trading growth and the economic growth have been slowing down since 2012, and which caused the government to start to develop their economy inwards and start to protect their own supply, and get more powerful rights without carrying other countries' benefits. And this kind of policy caused trade protectionism. And what would they do if they launched the trade protectionism? They will raise the tariff. They will raise the tariff, sanctions, and trade. They will raise the tariff, sanctions, and trade wars. And you can see some examples in page 29. Page 29 in the box 2.1, and in the second paragraph. You can see in the second paragraph the example. There are Ebola outbreak in West Africa, tension in the Middle East, and the dispute between Ukraine and Russian Federation. And today I'm going to take what happened in Ukraine and Russia, for example, because it was mentioned in both page 14 and page 29. Okay, so because of the choosing nation problem, Russia stopped sending gas to Europe, and European countries reduced to trade with Russia either. And Russia was also kicked out of G8 because of
partly because of this dispute. And in this case, we can see how Russia used its national resource, which is gas, to strengthen its geopolitical position, and this is how trade protectionism disturbed the trade flow. And actually, this kind of sanction has been considered losing the balance of the global trade.
Also, because of global recession, countries' economic development starts to turn inward, and nations began to organize region free trade agreements with like-minded countries, which would help one another to pursue their economic goals better. However, because of areas, most of countries sign more than two free trade agreements. But every agreement is promoted by different countries. And like in table 2.5, we can 2.1, we can see that regional comprehensive economic partnership is promoted by Association of Southeast Asian Nations, and TPP is promoted by the US. And free trade area of the Asia Pacific is promoted by China. Every country has its economic and political position. So how could countries under agreements choose which side to lie on? Like in this picture, you can see that Korea didn't sign TPP because in this picture you can see that Korea didn't sign TPP because Korea has its own FTA free trade agreements. They thought it was enough, so it kept distance with TPP. But ever since Japan attended TPP, Korea starts feeling threatened. So its attitude toward TPP become better than before.
So, how does the interplay between geopolitics and economics influence the whole world, and what kind of risks does it make? Take example, as we all know, it's a global village now, so any decision or any event happens in the world will influence any other country. Take Japan in page 28, for example. It's at the last paragraph, the last three sentences. For instance, one side effect of Japan's expansionary monetary policies to restart its domestic economy has been the devaluation of the yen by about 50% in recent years, much to the detriment of its neighbors. So, because of the devaluation, investors keep investing money into Japan, which caused the impact to other countries that were supposed to be invested. And take tourism industry for an example. A couple months ago, a bunch of people went to Japan to travel because yen was too cheap. So that at the meantime, people who went to Korea to travel reduced, and thus the tourism industry in Korea lost an amount of revenue.